computer, yes. Okay. So, how are you all? Do you want to say a couple of words, a sentence or two each? I mean, I'm concerned how you are, as in mentally, physically. Start with you, Corey. How are you?
I'm good, just trying to keep track of everything because of teaching, because I teach music. So I've been doing a lot from home. So it's good I've been able to keep working, but it's actually been a lot more work than just teaching normal lessons.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's been a little bit overwhelming, but I'm hanging in there.
Hanging in. And welcome, Thelmore.
Hi.
And we've got Michelle.
Yes.
Do tell us how you are.
Yeah, not bad. Actually, I'm good that I'm working in COVID-19, but my husband is stuck overseas. He cannot come back. A bit of issues. My placement is, they are planning, Maryland is planning for May 11th. So as Mr. Jeff has advised me to speak to you, so I'm a bit confused.
We will have a chat either tonight or tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Otherwise it's good.
Okay. Eunice?
I had to take a very sudden flight back to Singapore. That's not doing well in critical condition. So I'm now currently serving my self-isolation for 14 days, but really thank God for miracles. He moved mountains and the government gave me a one-off 1 hour to visit Dad for the final time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. And Arizo?
Yeah, hello everyone. So far, everything is good. Just a little bit worried about working in a school, but I'm not taking my kids with me because I see like how things are. So they stay home with my mom, and then I go and I started casual teaching. So I'm happy about that. But beside that, it's sort of like scary if I bring the virus back home. So I don't know. But everything is fine.
Good.
So far, so good, yeah.
And Selmo?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, just working. My prac got moved, well, like paused. So yeah, just working.
Okay, you still working okay?
Yeah.
And do unmute yourself, MacBook. Who's MacBook?
So
Oh, Siban!
Hello, everyone.
You have an alias.
Hi, Subhan, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, thanks.
Surviving.
It's good to see you after so long.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Subhan, in a sentence or two, I know that's very hard for you. How's your work situation?
So I had two jobs, and unfortunately, I was made redundant, of course, because of the virus. But I was lucky that I was offered a team leadership position at Coles, which is a full-time job. And given the situation and uncertainty about coronavirus and all that, I thought that I should take the opportunity. And as you remember, I had a chat with the school, and they also agreed that this might be the best course of action for the time being, to take the offer, and so which I'm doing now. So working full-time, but let's see how things go.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I better tell you how I am. I'm, as you can see, not in my office. I'm at home, and I'm doing a trial for this week to see if I can work from home. I've got my wife and my eldest son living here, so it's a little bit weird. I think I will be here next week as well, but we'll see what happens. So we better get to 502, folks, and just interrupt, or if you can't make me here, then wave your arms around. I can see you. Now, 502 is really weird in the sense that we've only got 10 weeks. And this is normally a whole semester subject. So I'm feeling it's really squashed. So we've got to be really on our toes and get off to a quick start. And what I wanted to do today is make sure that you all are on a good starting point, and you don't, you don't waste a beat. That's my heart. So let me share a screen, not that one. So let me get to 502. There's 502. And here we go. So let me just explain. I just love these photos. They tell such an amazing story. I suspect that all of you feel, as you enter action research this term, you feel like you're in the snowdrift and your feet are sticking out. And I don't expect you to feel anything else. It'll be totally chaotic. What on earth am I doing here? And as the days go by, you'll feel more like this. You can see these pictures, can't you? Somebody answer me.
No.
You can't?
No.
Okay, that's not clever. So thank you for that. I need to share better. I go there. Can you see now?
Yes.
Fantastic. Hallelujah. So I expect most students to feel like that, with their feet sticking out of a snowdrift. After a few days, I expect you to feel like that, wading through snow. And once you've really got going, you'll be out in the snow, throwing snowballs at each other and having a ball. So that's my visual for you for this course. The reason that TPA is mentioned is that is integral part of your final placement, and normally RES502 is part of your final placement. Whether it is or not is going to be a very moot point, and we're going to have to wrestle with that. So I'm going to scoot down through stuff, and those videos I commend to you highly. They're, especially if you're a visual learner or whatever, get into those. Remember, the 3 stars on the end of something means it's really good. The 3 asterisks are really good stuff. So when we come to this section 3, above all, you've got to be into these 2. These are your primary resources, the course resource part A and B. A good kickoff would be to get into this PowerPoint. That means 28 slides. They are all taken from here and here. So for the detail, go here, and for the actual quick visuals, read here. And that should get you through what on earth is action research. If you go into, and I want to launch you in now into the first PDF, you can still see this, can't you, somebody?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. If I go to page 6 of this, and I'm not going to waste time by doing this, but I really want you to do this on your own. This video here by Richard Sagor is by far the best definition of what is action research. You should watch it 2 or 3 times, really get it into your head. What is action research? There's only one difference with that, is that he is talking as if he's a school principal and all his staff are involved in action research together, which would be wonderful and ideal. But he does it in such a great way. I really commend that video to you on what is action research. So I hope you're scribbling some notes, folks. On page 12, when you get down there, page 12, this is going to be crucial. The North Carolina State University video on literature review. So the front end of this whole term is going to be you doing a literature review of a particular topic. So if you want to know what a literature review is, that's the video, page 12. I'm nearly through. And then if you go through to this page 15, timeline, if you do nothing else this week, is you think about the timeline that you're going to have to get this project done. I suppose I make an apology, but it's the way it is. This is a course which, if you like, doesn't really have content, but it has you doing a lot of work. And the work that each of you do is going to be very, very different. You won't be the same as any of the others. You'll all be totally different. If you happen to be the same as one another, that will be a miracle. So think about the timeline. You've got to work out what your proposal is, your research proposal. Don't worry about the trial there. Literature review is critical. Data collection is critical. Analysis of your thingamajig is critical, and then you've got to write it up. So think through what your timeline is going to be. And this video here on page 16 by Christine, Jeffrey, and Joe. They've got very English accents because they're English. I think they talk about action research in a brilliant, brilliant way. I can't commend them enough. And if I can then minimize that and take you to section 4, and if you have a look at Carolyn Smollick's project that she did in 2016, I think it would be a really great model. It's a lot of the stuff on this Moodle page is not was written when the subject was another code and you had to write 16,000 words. It's now 8,000. So this particular example is more like what yours will look like. Okay, so you'll have a contents page. You certainly will have an abstract. It's about the only time I ever say to my students, you need an abstract, but that's the last thing you ever write. Do the whole thing, kit and caboodle, before you ever write that. So you have an abstract, and obviously, yeah, what I was going to do is I was just going to go through the contents page, which is really nice, and explains what everybody's contents page will look like. There'll be an abstract, there'll be an introduction. I'm not worried about the conceptual framework. It might help some of you and you might get very excited about that, but if you don't get excited about that, don't worry. The literature review is absolutely critical. Absolutely, totally, fundamentally. Get that going at a good rate of knots as soon as you can. Methodology is going to be important. Everybody's going to have that. Everybody's going to have data collection. And everybody's going to do data analysis and have an action plan and conclusions. It's all the same. What is the project? Literature, methodology, analysis, action plan, limitations, yes, that's important, conclusions, 8,000 words, and you're done. So that was that's a massive rate of knots introduction. Now we've got to have a conversation. Where are you at? The fact that you're not going to be in schools, majority of you. I suppose you've got to understand, and this is probably where we should start now. So do I stop sharing? No, we'll keep it open so I can go around the place. But what is action research? That is the crucial thing. Do you all know what action research is? So would anyone like to give us a definition of what they think action research is? Go for it. Somebody.
Well, my definition from scientific perspective is that when you conduct experiment, you see how it goes, then you write the observations and finding what worked well and what did not, and then you incorporate everything into the conclusion.
Now, Michelle, that's great. And you kicked off by saying from a scientific point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you don't necessarily need to have a scientific perspective. And the thing that you missed out in terms of action research is it's action on you. So if I could give a comeback, you're going to research not something out there, but you're going to research something in here. Something that, think about what area of your teaching profession, your gift, you're least comfortable with, you're least, what's the word, confident with, one that you really wish you were better at. Think of, it could be anything, it could be absolutely anything about your teaching. And then you design a research project to research how effective or ineffective that aspect of your teaching is. Collect the data. Well, how could I do this differently? Let's have another go. And that's action research, trying to find what works well for you as an improvement strategy for an aspect of your teaching. And please, you're going to think big initially. Everybody will think big. You've got to squeeze it down and make it manageable in 10 weeks. Anyone else like to talk about what they think action research is, and I'll critique what you say? Has anyone got any ideas as what they would like to start, please?
My question is like, how are we going to collect data and things like that if we can't go into schools at the moment? Is it like more like we'll be emailing schools and asking for their perspective? Is that?
No, Selmore, that's great. You know, what I'm thinking about is you see, the data you want to collect isn't the schools, it's you. So somehow or other, imagine, think of about a thermometer that you stick under your tongue. Now, you don't need to be in a school to stick that thermometer under your tongue to measure your temperature, do you? You can do that wherever you are. So is there a way of measuring what, let me unpack a little. Supposing you were doing some teaching remotely, digitally, online learning for a placement, you're doing a part placement which was online. You could research your own capacity to teach online. And you wouldn't have to be in the school to do that. You could.
My placement has been paused. So like,
Yeah.
unsure of how I'm going to, like, is it something I design or yeah.
You see, tell what I know, if your placement's paused and if it's not going to happen this this term, we've then got to come up with another solution for you.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying, RES502 is not dispensable. You've got to do it. And I'm very excited about it. And I think you actually enjoy it very, very much when you get your teeth into it. But finding what to get your teeth into is going to be the challenge.
Okay.
And if you can't be in now you see, you're Western Australia. Now, frankly, I just heard today that you lot can go and take a caravan around Western Australia. You're opening up. So I can't imagine that you're going to keep your schools shut all term. And therefore, I wouldn't be surprised if your placement starts at some point during term 2. Now, if that's the case, then we can swing into action. Now, because of the disruption of COVID-19, the end of this term isn't going to be like an immovable feast. You will be able to dribble stuff into term 3, I'm sure.
Okay.
But let's not worry about that now. But don't think that the end of term 2 is going to be like a big wall. It won't necessarily. We've got ways around it.
Okay.
But so for you, whether you're going to be in a school, not in a school, is really, I would say to you, get a grip of what action research is. Really understand that, and really get your family, friends to try and help you identify what area of your teaching you want to research. What would be most profitable to improve in your teaching. That's what action research is going to be, okay?
So, Dr. Jim, so for considering the fact that, can we go look back into our previous placements, and from there we can find out what worked well for us and what didn't?
You can look at previous placements and see and reflect deeply on what areas you found most challenging. What area, because the crucial thing about RES502 is you're not going to research everything. You've really got to be narrow. So the sooner you can narrow down your topic, better. And once you've narrowed down your topic, you then know what your literature review is going to be, and you can focus your research really sharply. So yeah, go back to your previous placements, do a good reflection on what is it that you would, and talk to others. Maybe on this course, use the forum, talk to them privately, talk to anybody to try and get an idea, and talk to me or any of your other lecturers. If obviously you as an individual find it very hard to identify what you're weak at, but you build up your courage and go to somebody that you trust, that knows you, and say, what do you think is it? What do you think is my biggest weakness?
Jim, I was just thinking, because before I was looking at the research project. I was actually thinking about my teacher talk in previous pracs and how much I tend to talk more over the students. That was one aspect I wanted to work on. The other thing that I was thinking about was using a teaching methodology for ESL kids. So I was thinking about how one research I was actually thinking of was how effective using like a chart or like a visual KWL chart would work for like older kids versus younger kids.
Yeah, Eunice, that is.
Am I on the right track or not?
Yeah, what you've just shared is brilliant, because when you start talking about a teaching methodology and applying something to your kids and what works well for them, you're actually researching the methodology, not you.
Right.
The first thing you said about your teacher talk is you.
Okay.
Definitely you. And I love the idea of you researching. You just said you talk over the kids sometimes.
Yeah.
That implies to me, I think what you're saying is that you're, in a given lesson, there's too much talk from you and not enough from the kids. Not
Yeah.
enough action from the kids, too much talk from you. Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I think that is a very admirable, brilliant idea. I would encourage you to explore that for a bit, and see if that, grows in you as being a topic that you could get excited about. Because one of the key things of action research is that you've got to be excited about it. You've got to feel a connection. If you're researching something out there, like a problem with a school or with a program, you could get easily bored. But if it's really personal and you're passionate about it, then you'll get excited about it and you'll want to research it and improve and improve and improve. Okay? And if you get this habit of action research, you will be brilliant in a staff room. Everybody will want to catch some of your passion for self-improvement. Okay? It will be contagious, if you pardon the unfortunate reference.
Dr. Jim,
Yes.
when you came and visited my school when I was doing my prac, if you remember, we talked about differentiation and if it's possible to apply differentiation in every lesson. I was thinking about this topic, and it's like a huge topic. So I'm not sure how to narrow it down and do the research based on applying differentiation method in every lesson, which is not gonna happen because there are some lessons that it's just like for the whole classroom and how I'm going to do differentiation. And the other thing was like my voice, because you said that for that huge classroom, I was like loud. I won't be able to do research on that one, but differentiation would be something that I can find a lot of data on.
My concern about differentiation, as you said, is a very
It
big
is
topic.
very huge, yeah.
And arguably, every teacher should be, it's in the APSTs. Every teacher should be differentiating. It's not a option. So if you were tending not to differentiate much, then it's something that you should do. Yeah, it's a given. I would urge you, probably it's not the best for your action research. To me, it's not very personal. The point about an action research is something personal about you that is distinctly you, that you want to improve about you. Now, if you, yes, of course you've got to differentiate. That's, everybody has to do that. But to me, I would be encouraging you not to go down that track.
Yeah, but the thing was, like, if we think of it like narrowly, that is it applicable? Because when I was talking to other teachers, they were like, yeah, we have to differentiate, but the thing is that in every lesson we cannot do it.
Yeah, well, that might be a matter of discussion. I mean, the fact of the matter is every class has got a range of abilities in it. Now, my test of whether differentiation is working or not is, can every child, every student succeed in this class. If they can't because the work is too easy and they get bored, or too hard and they can't understand it, that lesson needs differentiation.
Yes.
If the nature of what they're doing is accessible for all the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a common task,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. That particular lesson doesn't need differentiation. It is accessible to all, therefore, great,
Yeah.
go for it. Yeah, as I say, I think I would encourage you to think more personally about your own, what areas. It could be really uniquely you, and you may find it really hard. Ideally, it would be great if there was not much literature about what you are going to research.
Mm-hmm.
The more narrow, the more rare the topic, the more chance of it being really exciting to explore.
One more thing, which here I have in my notes, was that during my placement, I wasn't able to have a good involvement with parents. So that's another thing, but it's going to be broad. How, as a teacher, you can improve that, because it's different in every country. For example, if you think of other countries, parents are more involved than how they are in Australia, especially in high schools.
Sure.
It's going to be broad. I was able to send postcards to families, send notes, but it wasn't something that I could get a reply back from them.
Yeah,
So
but Arisa,
yeah.
the thing is, that's, yes, it's cultural, and it's also school system specific. I can think of high schools in Australia where the involvement of parents is massive, arguably too much. Whereas other schools, as soon as they get to high school, the parents disappear and you never hear boot or goose. So I think it's very localized. But the point is, Arizo, that is not action research. That's a system issue, and it's not you.
But that's one point of Etzel, one of those.
I know. Oh, I agree with you. I absolutely. It's got to be I know it's a big, big challenge. But I would say just because it's an Etzel point, it doesn't mean to say that you should be doing action research on it. Who have I not heard from? Corey.
Yes.
Talk to me.
Well, so I've already completed my placement, so that's where I think I'm a little bit unsure of what to do.
So you've done your final placement, haven't you?
Yes.
But you haven't done 502, RES502.
No, because I did it at the very beginning of the year, which I'm glad I did, because then I was able to actually do it in school. And I'm not dealing with that now, but it's just, I'm not sure. We talked about this earlier last term, but I'm still just not even sure which direction to go with this.
Right. Wow. But yeah, we did talk about this, and we talked it seems as if it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, it does.
Dear, was that this year?
Yeah, it was probably about 2 months ago.
You're joking.
Maybe 3.
Oh, dear me.
February, I think.
That is ironic.
Yeah.
So we talked about, so what areas did we explore? I remember we were exploring some action research ideas.
We were, because initially I said I felt like I really just needed to work on classroom management, but you were saying that was too generic and everyone needs to work on that. I mean, and then we were looking at different things with music and how, we were looking at mental type stuff, music in the mind and stuff like that. But again, that wasn't me. That you said that was more on how students learn. And then we did talk about, I said I was interested in textiles, tech, and the fact that other schools have it, Pacific Hills doesn't have it. And it's an interesting area that I really enjoy and am passionate about. And I think you were saying something about looking at something that combined the two, but I'm still not sure how I would approach that as looking at myself, research-wise.
Oh dear. So textiles. So unpack that for everybody and me in a couple of in a few sentences. What do you mean by textiles tech?
Textiles technology basically teaches like sewing, everything to do like basically everything to do with fabric. So it's sewing and creating wall hangings and costumes and all this other stuff. And so it's a very hands-on area. And I said it was interesting to me because I've done 2 bachelor's degrees. I have one in music and I have one in textiles design and marketing. And so I studied my master's in music, and that's my main area, but it's my other area that I'm very interested in. But again, I don't know how I would, or how that applies as far as researching me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a passion of
Mhm.
yours. Ticks the passion box.
Yeah.
You said the school you did your placement in, Pacific Hills, doesn't have it.
No.
But then when we're talking action research, that means that it's a school issue out there,
Yeah.
not you. It's not a personal issue that you've got that you need to work on. It's an issue you would like the school to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So arguably, it fits more with Arizo's comment about differentiation. It's a thing out there,
Right.
rather than a thing in here.
Yes. So I just feel like I have no idea.
That's right.
I'm lost at the moment.
Sure. So your feet are sticking out of the snowdrift.
Very much
and
so.
Your head is
Almost
deep
buried
within it.
in the snow.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. Okay, well, let's roll this ball around and see what comes out in the next few days. Saban.
Yes. So my last project, which was very challenging, as you know, the main issue that I realized with myself was that with some classes, especially one of my classes, which I had, I think year 10 students, it was a huge class. Students with learning difficulties as well as very misbehaved students. I was trying different techniques and like proximity, raising voice, pausing, and all that. And one point, I raised my voice pretty loud, and I could feel that actually they're not really taking me seriously. And my supervisor told me that you should think of other approach. So I could sense that actually this is getting out of my hands. But so which is a challenge. It's behavior management is a challenge for me. But if I wanted to dig in and diving down and narrow it down, see what's the main issue of that, to be able to do research on it. It might be a personality thing, I don't know. And if that's the case, then what's the literature review on that?
Well, look, Saban, I think that you might be nearly hitting the nail on the head. You've got a personal area that you'd like to work on. We're not talking about classroom management techniques, but we're talking about you and what you need, how you might come up with a new strategy that results in great classroom management. So, yeah, I think what you just said there is there something about your personality that is the trigger that needs to be molded, shaped to get you over this hurdle.
And in fact,
So-
I'm doing a team leadership role now, and I've got like 10 team members that I have to sort of manage. And this is my first few weeks. And what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to assume myself in classroom environments, so to speak, because I'm managing and dealing with young, mostly like 22, 23 years old people. But I'm trying to be upfront, kind of serious, but friendly and professional at the same time. So I'm practicing um, when I'm instructing them, like have a serious tone, but then I appreciate their contribution. So that's a work in progress. But then again, putting that into action research, I don't know how. What's the literature on a personality type?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
question.
Look, I think you might be close in terms of what you've just been sharing, and especially as you're trialing it out now in Coles, I think that has some potential. So yeah, we'll keep talking.
Yeah.
Look, I notice it's 8:15 or nearly 8:15 my time. I want to wrap this up for your sake, everybody's sake. I want to know. So basically, your individual projects are going to need sharpening. You're going to need to be having a dialogue. I'm your supervisor, so read up what it says about the role of a supervisor in those notes. Can I ask you a question? This course is going to be very much you driving it. Okay, I see myself as a signpost, a guide. I'm not going to be teaching you every. If you were with me for 5 days on an intensive, you're going to get teaching. Now there are echoes, there are videos. If you want to dig into some of the concepts with me teaching, then go there. But this term, you're not going to get that. So, you're going to be driving your own, inverted commas, learning. So, talk to me in short spurts. How are you? I know the topic of action research is a huge unknown at this stage, and you feel as if your feet are waving around outside the snowdrift. So try and park that, but looking at the subject itself, RES502, material on Moodle, navigating your way through that, getting a grip of what is action research, and then what is a literature review. Are you ready to start?
Not really, not for 10 weeks, like finishing this gym, because I'm just thinking about if we have to finish this in 10 weeks, and with the COVID situation, like for me now, I'm not able to go back to Australia at all now because I'm on an international student visa. I'm not able to do my prac, and we are supposedly supposed to have RES502 and the prac together so that we can actually practice what we are actually researching on. I am a little worried if I should defer it or continue with it.
Okay.
I don't have to drag it on
Sure.
over.
Look, Eunice, I think your situation is obviously unique. You're in Singapore now, yeah? I believe that my attitude at the moment is that I know that this particular term is really weird. When I've been in meetings, and I have them every week with all the other deans of teacher education in New South Wales, it's a fantastic group. And we're all in this together, every uni, every college, and the common understanding is we have to be flexible. NESA is going to be flexible. The schools are being flexible. The whole thing is, what we're saying is, nobody is going to be disadvantaged by this COVID thing. Nobody's visa is going to get stuffed up because of it if their course has to be extended. What they're saying is, we really want the supply of teachers not to dry up at all, but we're going to get through this. We will find a way, even to the extent, and this is what they're saying, that if you have to do your final placement when you've already started teaching, in other words, they will give you, as Arizo is, she's already teaching, you'll just sort of backtrack and will deem these 4 weeks your final placement. So it could be done next year. So I'm not worried about that.
Right.
That's to be fixed. And I'm optimistic that wherever anybody is, we can come up with a really exciting action research project, wherever you are, in whatever context you've got.
Okay. So how could I be collecting, I mean, I'm just wondering, how could I be collecting data? And yeah, just basically, how am I going to collect that data and how do I analyze it and fit it into my, so it would be my future teaching, like how I analyze it for my future teaching practice?
Now, well, I would say two things. You mentioned the word data.
Because
I would say to you straight off, there are two things. There's quantitative and there's qualitative.
Right.
The qualitative could be interviews. You have interviews with all sorts of people, and that can happen as we're doing now, online. You can do interviews anywhere in the world. I personally would urge against a focus on quantitative data.
Right.
To me, that lends itself to when you're in a class and you can collect scores from kids.
Right.
That has its place, and yeah. But on its own, don't think about that. Think more about qualitative. Qualitative could be participant observation. That means even yourself, you're the participant, you observe yourself. You reflect yourself, and that's data. And you analyze your own reflections from your journal, for example.
Right. So, Jim, can I ask a question then? So, if I were to volunteer to help out in a school online, can I say observe how that teacher Zooms and work with her students online?
Yeah.
And
well,
then I can talk about how I can talk about her teacher talk instead of my.
Yes, but the thing is, you've got to talk about you, and somehow or other, you've got to get your own performance observed or recorded, and then you analyze recordings of your own teacher talk online.
And would that go in the thesis as well?
Well, not the recording, but the analysis of it. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, I know it's incredibly hard, but try to think way outside the box. There is nothing, I think, that we can't do.
Okay.
Look, how are you? Anybody else, quickly, are you going to be okay to kick off what is action research and really understand it, and understand what a literature review is, and be working with me on what your topic is? They're the three things I want you to do initially this week, next week. Are you okay? Okay. I see some nods. Tentative nods. In fact, I don't see nods. I see the feet waggling around as your head is in the snowdrift. And it's as if you're saying you're nodding with your feet. Okay, I get that. I'll accept that. Okay. Anyone sitting on a question they want to ask?
I have a similar question, Dr. Jim.
Yeah.
like everyone mentioned about what they are considering for the project. It reminds me of my placement where my head of department, he observed me for a couple of minutes during a class, and he said, "Look, Michelle, your way of teaching is too simple." And but at the same time, he said, "I'm very happy you managed to keep the kids quiet with their books open for at least for 20 minutes, and they were not on their technology, they were just listening to you." So I think when it comes to teaching, I think I need to work on how to be creative with the methods of teaching. I mean, my personality as a teacher, even from when I was back in India, it was the same, the simple way of teaching, but engaging through the live examples of the life. So, but now in this scenario, in as when I'm in Australia, the world is more of a digital world where I have to do a lot. I think as a teacher, I need to work a lot on myself, how to be creative with the be it differentiation, be it engaging the kids with through different methods, worksheets. So I think can I consider this aspect of my personality, because it's totally me. It has nothing to go with the research method. I need to work on myself.
Look, Michelle, I think that is brilliant. You've said some very interesting things there. The fact that your mentor said you were teaching simply could imply you're not doing well. But then on the other hand, she observed that the kids were concentrating and that they were with you. So I would argue simple is good. If you're too complicated, you're going to lose kids. And the fact that somehow or other you've got engaged kids, which is fantastic, but then you recognize you want to improve by being more creative. And especially in the Australian culture as opposed to the Indian culture, that's going to be more necessary for you to do. Therefore, that is a personality thing, absolutely a technique thing. How can you be more creative in your presentation? Oh, I think you're onto a winner. You really are, and linking it to your own personality. Okay, look, time's gone. I'm going to wrap it up here. We will keep talking, and obviously those who couldn't be with us tonight, we've got to talk to them as well. I don't want to leave it very long. I would imagine early next week we could have another session. Now, is the 7 o'clock time, 7:30 time, really bad? Has it been really awkward for you, or would you prefer it to be in the daytime?
No, it's good.
That time is good for me.
This is good for me.
Good?
Yep.
Subhan?
Yes, Thursday, same time. Yeah, that'll be good.
Oh, Thursday, same time. What about Thalmor?
Yeah, I don't mind the Thursday. This is a good time.
It suddenly got dark.
Yeah, I'm in my car. I'm sitting in my car.
And it was light when we started.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we'll pencil in. Let me pencil in then Thursday, 7:30 next week. We'll catch up, not necessarily for an hour, but maybe for half an hour.
And I need to speak to you, Dr. Jim.
Yes, indeed. So you don't hang up, but everyone else can. No, actually, I'll call you again, Michelle.
Okay.
I'll call you again, but it won't stop the recording.
Oh,
Okay.
actually,
Yes, Subhan?
I'm just checking my roster. From next week, I'll be working 48 hours a week. So,
Oh.
yeah. So Friday next week, actually, I'm